In the headlines, a 45-year-old Micoud resident is killed on Christmas holiday. The CCC recommits to step up the fight against petty crimes in 2020. And Prime Minister Alan Chastanet has a brief tete-a-tete with the British Prime Minister.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
It is Friday, 27th December 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News on Flow Channel 117. The broadcast is also being simulcast on Kiss FM radio. You can also watch on our website, www.caribbeanhottv.com, or on our free Caribbean Hot FM mobile app. I am Solange Alfred. Thank you for joining us. Dead is Aaron Cooper, 45-year-old resident of Auger Micoud. Allegedly, an altercation with another on Christmas Day resulted in Cooper sustaining fatal wounds to the neck area. Cooper was rushed to the St. Jude Hospital but succumbed to his wounds on Thursday, December 26th. More details in this report. The circumstances surrounding the death of 45-year-old Aaron Cooper have not been confirmed. It is alleged that an altercation between Cooper and another male led to the chopping incident that occurred on Christmas Day around 2 a.m. Cooper succumbed to his injuries on December 27th at the St. Jude Hospital. Acting Corporal in the Press Office of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, Anne Joseph, provides details about the killing. She says, as it stands, one male has been taken into police custody in relation to the matter.
Officers attached to the Micoud Police Station are investigating the death of 45-year-old Aaron Cooper. He's a resident of Auger Micoud. The officers received a report of a chopping on the 25th of December 2019 about 2 a.m. They responded to the incident which took place in Auger, and on arrival they encountered the now deceased with an apparent injury to the right side of his neck. It is alleged that the deceased was involved in an altercation with a known male and was later conveyed to the St. Jude Hospital. He was admitted in critical condition. He has since succumbed, and that was on Thursday, the 26th of December 2019, about 11:30 p.m. A post-mortem examination is scheduled for tomorrow, Saturday, December 28th, 2019. One male is currently in custody in relation to this incident.
Acting Corporal Joseph says besides the unfortunate grisly chopping, the Christmas holidays were relatively quiet for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. However, she took the opportunity to reiterate the need for members of the public to exercise restraint and discipline in closing of the year and beyond.
We do have a homicide to report, so obviously it is rather concerning. We would have preferred if nothing of that sort had happened. It has happened, and we can say thanks to members of the public for the tremendous assistance in regard to that incident. It has resulted in the arrest of one individual. We're continuing to urge persons to exercise restraint in situations. As I said, it is reported that there was an altercation which resulted in this death. And we're asking persons generally, control your temper. We had this whole thing last year, asking persons to exercise restraint. We're going to continue doing that, and we do hope that the New Year's is a period where we don't have to report on any instances of violence. So let's see.
A post-mortem examination on the body of Aaron Cooper is scheduled for Saturday, December 2019. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred. Mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, says works started in 2019 to curb any increase in crime will be amped up in 2020. Speaking on a number of issues, the mayor landed on the topic of petty crime and says the CCC's tireless efforts will not cease in 2020. Mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, says instances of petty crime still rear their ugly head throughout the city of Castries and environs. Efforts on the part of the Castries Constituency Council have come by way of mobilizing city police to deal with the situation. Francis says though the issue is one that has not been fully tackled by CCC efforts, he remains hopeful that petty crime statistics in the city will descend.
You would agree that it's not prevalent as before. I mean, we had that as a daily occurrence. Okay, now you see the tourists around, freely walked in and so on. So the other thing that we want to, as we said, we want to engage our youth, because right now we do not have. And I forgot to mention that we are now actively putting what we call a city tour in place. So we want the tourists to have places to go. We don't want them just liming around, evilly, they don't know where they're going, they don't know what they think, just aimlessly walking Castries. And that is contributing again to become vulnerable.
Francis says trends from 2016 have shown a decline in the petty crime in the city. He says the CCC will address a number of key factors lending itself to the issue. The focus will be on two areas of concern: loitering and indecent exposure.
We can't have people walking Castries barefooted. You don't know which is their pants, which is their underwear. You guys see both of them the same length, the same time. So these are the things that we are going to put some order. We are going to work on some order. We have to do that. You see fellas walking, St. Lucians alike, foreigners alike, walking anywhere, bareback. They don't have plus to make it worse. The underwear is on their head, the pants below the backside. We can't tolerate these things. We have to be a disciplined society. So next year, we are going to crack down on that.
Mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, has implemented a number of measures thus far to alleviate the worrying crime issue in Castries, the most major being more boots on the ground with city police and mobilizing the city police with bikes. The Office of the Mayor and the Castries Constituency Council encourages citizens to support the work of the city police. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Prime Minister Alan Chastanet met with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who was in St. Lucia for a short layover on December 26, 2019. Prime Minister Johnson landed on British Airways flight at Uranura International Airport, where PM Chastanet greeted him on the tarmac. Prime Minister Chastanet took the time to thank the British Prime Minister for his country's continued support to St. Lucia and the region. He also congratulated PM Johnson on his hard-won, well-deserved victory in the recent UK elections. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Conservative Party won a large majority in the House of Commons on Thursday, 12 December 2019. Prime Minister Chastanet stated that he looks forward to moving more closely on shared mutual interests. He also thanked British Airways and their staff for their continuous support to the destination and for flying Prime Minister Boris into St. Lucia. Prime Minister Chastanet noted that he hopes to welcome the UK Prime Minister for a longer stay in St. Lucia very soon. In other news, 9 out of 14 employees at the events company St. Lucia Incorporated were recently given redundancy letters. Minister with responsibility for culture and creative industries, Senator Fortuna Belrose, stated the move is part of a restructuring of the organization. A press conference was held at the Government Information Studios where the matter was addressed. She stated emphatically that employees should not have been surprised by the redundancy letters given, and the situation was, according to her, always fluid.
There's always need for you to revisit what you're doing and find better and more efficient ways of delivering services to the people. And so the restructuring of events should not have been a surprise for the staff. I'm very surprised that it is a surprise because I think from day one we've set out on this journey with persons knowing full well that there'll be changes constantly in this dynamic environment for events. And we were building this industry. We're building an orange economy in St. Lucia. And the government, of course, looking at the environment, looking at the legislation, and trying to ensure that whatever we do as a country falls within the ambit of ensuring that our people benefit we maximize the benefit for the people of our country. So I don't think anybody in events would think that it is a permanent position. I think if you are in events, you understand that this is a very fluid environment and there are changes that will come.
Minister Belrose says the aim is to keep the events company of St. Lucia relevant and moving with the times. She fielded questions surrounding the performance of events company St. Lucia staff and reasons for the restructuring.
When we started off, there was no fiscal incentive act for persons within the service sector Now we do have that. So it means that you'll have more people in the business offering their services at very competitive prices. And so perhaps the price you'd pay for a staff member can now come in and to be outsourced for maybe lesser amount of money. So you have to consider all of those dynamics within the scheme of things to ensure that you have an organization that is buoyant, thrives, and gives you what you want and gives you value for money. In terms of the delivery of events, I was one of the strongest advocates for my team. I think the level of commitment we saw in terms of delivering events across St. Lucia was phenomenal. They worked well. You know, they did work well. And I think hats off to them for doing that. But that does not mean to say we cannot look at our organization and see what we can do better.
The effective date of redundancy is the 31st January 2020. The timing of the reorganization is necessary so as to give sufficient time for the new structure to take effect prior to the commencement of the 2020 summer festivals.
In the planning process, when we began this whole process, very early, we sought to inform that we were learning, we were growing, and to inform that the structure of events in Lucia was not cast in stone. That was very clear. Our initial report had identified and proposed an initial, medium, and long-term structure so that it was always the intention to visit the structure of Events Company of St. Lucia. We are operating in a very dynamic environment, and our new directional thrust calls for a restructured organization that will facilitate greater efficiency and effectiveness in the delivery of national events. We need an organization that will maximize and take advantage of the improvements that my government made to the legislative environment for events.
According to the Events Company, from the 1st February 2020, the company would have by then embarked on a recruitment process, and during this time, monthly contracts will be offered to some of the 9 employees to ensure continuity of business and a smooth transition into the new structure. The new positions, as per the revised organizational structure, will be advertised, and all employees will have the opportunity to apply for any of the new roles. In other news, as per preparations for the upcoming 2020 ASUSQUE event continue, vendors and stakeholders have attended consultations regarding all aspects of the event and their duties involved. As the annually anticipated event draws closer, vendors say they are pleased with the organization of 2020's ASUSQUE and are looking forward to an incident-free execution.
The Castries Constituency Council, CCC, continues in its diligence to execute a quality ASUSQUE event in 2019 with the completion of vendor consultations and briefings ahead of booth selection. The vendors were briefed on matters pertaining to logistics, operations, health and safety, as well as cooperation with various stakeholders to allow for an incident-free event. Having secured their booths, prepared their menus, and in good spirits to set up, local vendors Ursula Fanis and Daphne Augustine say they are both very pleased with the CCC's efforts to ensure vendor involvement in the shaping of the upcoming event.
I'm ready like Freddie. This year I come in all out for the ASUSQUE.
What about you, my lady?
Well, I'm ready. I'm preparing all my things so that I'll be early on the square to make my money.
Fanis and Augustine say they have both expanded their portfolio of goods as compared to other years in hopes to maximize profits.
I'll be selling chicken. I'll be selling my toys, my float, my bakes, roast pork, stew tail, pigtail, roast pigtail, all the goodies things.
What about you? What should be selling we could expect from you this year?
All inclusive. Anything you ask for, you get it right underneath my booth. That's a new era this year. 2020 is a new era for me.
Vendors will be expected to adhere to strict regulations during the progression of ASUSQUE festivities. These include zoning, price regulations, and consumer etiquette. For Hot 7 News, I am Jacques Oudé.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, a veteran journalist says there is much to be learned from Trump's recent impeachment. Vendors say so far they are pleased with the planning and level of consultation about upcoming ASUSQUE activities. And meet the young artiste making a name for themselves under the Audio Labs label. That and more when we return.